Embers Adrift is a no-holds-barred, old-school, hardcore MMORPG developed by Stormhaven Studios that released in October of 2022. Embers Adrift promises fully immersive gameplay that focuses on grouping up with fellow players to combat the difficulties that are found in as early as the first combat area. Embers also seems to set itself apart from the modern-style MMO releases by offering what it calls a no-railroads experience with no quest hubs, no minimaps, and a fully sandbox environment. As an indie studio, Stormhaven is definitely staffed by old-school MMO lovers, with its gameplay and style harkening back to industry greats like EverQuest and old-school RuneScape. For Embers Adrift, it's in the lack of modern convenience features where you find what this game is really trying to be all about. Stormhaven's vision is to answer the clarion call of the old-school, hardcore MMO player, but the question is, did they pull it off with Embers Adrift? Hello everyone, I want to welcome you to the United States of MMO Erica. My name is President Brightlife. This is my fancy suit, and I'd like to welcome you to State of the MMO, where we take a hard look at an MMORPG, give you some good rapid-fire pros and cons, and then answer the most important question of all: should you download this game in this year? Friends, today we are diving into Embers Adrift, but before we get there, if today at any point I earn your presidential seal of approval, please do hit that like button below. It helps me be seen by more people in the MMO universe. And if you love this type of video, we do this kind of thing with other MMOs as well, hit that subscribe button for more. But friends, enough pandering for your very important vote. Let's jump right in to my first impressions of Embers Adrift in 2023. Alright, now let's jump into this old school and hardcore game to see if I can grab some nostalgia vibes in a newer game. You know how I'm gonna get in the mood though? I've got to listen to the greatest band of all time. Nope, not that one. Definitely not that one. I'm talking about this one. Alright, now let's dive into the optimization of this game. I do love that I can choose between like ultra high-end graphics and actual literally named potato graphics. I may need to choose that one because I'm still editing this video on my mom's old HP Pavilion Professional, but for real though, the developers of this game know gamers, and I love that. Now, on the note of the development team for this game, it's really important to know that Stormhaven is a studio of 13 employees. 13. Compare that to Blizzard's 9,500. I mean, shoot, there are probably more than 13 Blizzard employees on their customer service team, and yet Blizzard players still experience so much CS stress that their hair tends to fall out. Amateurs. Now, based on my pre-game research, Stormhaven as a development team is particularly great with its community. They group with players in-game, they interact with their people all over social media, and they have a dedicated help Discord. And they gave a free weekend for this game based on player feedback. That's a huge plus for Stormhaven. Okay, so the character creation in this is pretty simple, but it's effective. Outside of there being 3 individual hair modules, there's really nothing super groundbreaking here. Now, it's really simple with the class choice as well: DPS, tank, and healer. That's it. Now, I've seen online that some people really don't like this, but again, they're going for this really minimalist, pulled back, old school gameplay style. It's really going to be positive or negative based on your play style. But still, I make a character that looks like a way cooler version of myself, and into the world we go. Okay, and I'm not greeted here by any big yellow exclamation point or really anything that would indicate where I'm supposed to be going. I'm assuming that I should just talk to this guy and... yep, he gives me a quest right away. Now, on a positive note for this system, this really does strong arm me into slowing down and immersing myself into the game. Because if I do that 2023 F spam through the quest text, I miss hints on how to actually complete these quests because there are no directional markers, there's nothing on the minimap, it's just you gotta read the quest and good luck. Okay, so for this quest, I need to do a bit of combat training and, okay, pretty basic combat. Looks like I have the 4 skills for my class, and I've only got access to these 2 at the start. Oh, cool. Combat is directional as well, with things like surprise attacks from behind. That's reminding me a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV, which is a really high compliment for combat. I will say that so far the combat is a little bit clunky, but it's kind of endearingly clunky, kind of like an indie game should be. Now, clunkiness that isn't endearing, we gotta look at the UI. Like here, I'm trying to change out one weapon for another, and it says that the offhand isn't free instead of just switching it out. I have to physically drag the weapon and ammo from my offhand slot into my inventory, and then I gotta put the other weapon in. It is kind of a little thing, but if immersion is the goal of this game, that can take away from that a bit. Again, not a massive thing, but it's there. Okay, so into combat we go. Now, combat in Embers Adrift works on this 3 chevron system. 1 chevron means that it's a soloable mob, 2 chevrons means it's basically a 3-man group mob, and then 3 chevrons is for a full group. I will say that I wish that Embers had invested a bit more time into putting some more details into the models of these more difficult enemies. Like the easy deer here and the ultra hard deer look the exact same. I mean, I'd like to have the 3 chevron deer have something menacing like fire spouting from its nostrils to let me know that it's different. Make it look like it came out of some sort of metal poster and I'm all in. Now, to me, this is really important because Embers Adrift relies upon mob grinding for its early game development. There is no experience that comes from completing quests. There's no experience that comes from completing crafting gig things. It's just about combat. And so because of that, you really have to grind out this beginning part of the game to get where you're trying to go. And if you're like me, I like to have my second monitor on while I grind out skills in games, and I don't know, maybe watch my favorite Twitch streamer fail over and over and over again on a jumping puzzle in Guild Wars 2. Or, okay. And the problem with all the mobs looking the same, even though they have much higher difficulty right next to one another, is that you can sometimes tend to hit a mob that you shouldn't be hitting and then suddenly you're dead. Not that I died at any point in this game at all, ever. So I think that maybe making your more difficult mobs look just a little bit different, especially if they're right next to easier ones, would be a real benefit to this game. Now, 2 things I've noticed feel really clunky are the camera and the movement. You know, how you like experience the game as a player. These 2 elements could really use improvement. Like, I'm struggling with the zoom in and out of the camera and the movement feels moist, soggy, wet.
Why would you say something like that?
Okay, but on those notes there, those are the initial impressions, but it's good to remember that there are only 13 people that have developed this game. This is a massive project for a team that small, and I do think that this game initially does have a lot of magic in it. It's also important to remember that when you're playing a newer MMO, to remember that every MMO actually launches decently incomplete. That's just the nature of a live service game with thousands of players. The reality is that the moment that you press that launch button, your game immediately goes to like 50% done. Casual player feedback is what will drive your game in the right direction. So I'm not really criticizing Embers Adrift without the realization that these things will probably improve. Remember, MMOs are supposed to launch unfinished, but not other kinds of games. Only MMOs, not other types. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, right, Embers Adrift. Oh, this is cool. In the chat, we've got someone actually advertising free leather armor to all new players. That's really awesome. The community seems really welcoming and friendly here. This game definitely has the charm of that old school community. I mean, especially on the positive side. I am still waiting for the other side of that old school community where I get called gay on Ventrilo, but hopefully that happens soon. That'll make me feel really at home. Alright, now at this very moment, I've finished my quest and I'm really not sure what to do. This is like a really weird feeling in an MMO in 2023. Modern developers typically go out of their ways to always give you things to do in game, but not Embers. I guess I'll just go over towards this tower, I think? Do I hate this? Do I love this? I'm honestly not really sure how I feel. Stop making me feel things, Embers Adrift. I want to escape my feelings. It's why I play video games. Okay, so to recapture my sense of purpose, I've decided to solo one of those 2 chevron mobs. I know these would normally be tough, but I'm a content creator. Okay, I got this. Let's go get him. Nope, I don't got this, and oh lord, he coming! And I totally got away without dying. Alright, so check this out. There's an LFG tab. I mean, I like this feature, but it kind of feels out of place in a game that's so aggressively minimalist as Embers Adrift. Still, there's no auto-join system, which is good. You have to message the person to request to join, and that's pretty cool for the 13-year-old player. My goodness, this quest text is so well written. Only 13 people made this game? That's amazing. There were no signs of a struggle, so I continued to investigate. I found a camp of people who were quite unfriendly. I thought that people in New Haven welcome drifters, as you call them. I can assure you that they do indeed. We can use all the help we can get. This is all very strange. Any news of Adolin himself? Okay, so the game said to go east, but I have no compass and no indicator on my map. That's right, we have an LFG tab, but we've got no compass and no map indicator. Now, I did ask the world chat kind of how to navigate this game, and what they said was that there is a big planet in the sky and it's always pointed north. They call this planet Blupiter, so I guess I'm just gonna look at it and wow, it's really beautiful. It's the master of direction. It's the king of the north. It sees all, and something is happening to me as I look at this planet. I want to just say, all hail Blupiter, Lord of the North. 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 Say it with me, Trent.
All hail Blupiter, Lord of the North.
Fascinating. All hail Blupiter, Lord of the North. All hail Blupiter, Lord of the North. Wait, what just happened? That was weird. Well, let's go on ahead and go east. In true to form, there are no quest markers on the map, so I'm not gonna lie, I did end up going west instead of going east, but in my very humble defense...
East? I thought you said west.
Man, one thing I gotta say, the lighting in this game is... It is definitely giving me Valheim vibes. Very, very beautiful. Oh look, they put my mother-in-law in this game. That's nice. And boom, level 2, okay. Okay, so that quest that I was just doing wanted me to join a public dungeon. I had to do this in a group, and that's a big thing with Embers Adrift. They want you to play this game with a group of friends. I currently don't have any friends, so I tried to find one on the map. I did end up getting with one guy that was a level 5, and he said, hey, you're only level 2, you really should go and grind mobs until you get to at least level 4. And so here's the weird thing about this one. I'm in the area that's like literally 2 feet from the start, as denoted by this beautifully drawn map. You start over here, you do a little bit of questing over here, and then you walk like literally 2 feet, and then you pick up this group quest that I'm told is like double the level that I'm currently at. It is right out of the starting area. They tell me I need to mob grind, which is no problem because I played old school RuneScape, which means that grinds don't bother me, and I also smell like stale Doritos, so I'm gonna go grind mobs and then go back, but it's weird how close this quest is to the starting area when I'm supposed to be like literally double the level, and levels are a lot in this game. And yes, I will be selling this NFT for 4 zoo tokens. Too soon?
2 hours later.
And that's level 4, and only took me 2 hours to get to level 4, which is definitely a slower and more old school pace. All right, so now the moment of truth. Time to do some group content. Okay, now I need to find somebody for this thing, and let's try again. Nobody's responding.
2 hours later.
Okay, so not finding a group, sadly, and this is the open weekend. Now, Embers isn't on Steam, so it's hard to get a true player count for this game, but it's kind of a bummer that I'm having such a hard time finding a group for such low-level content. But honestly, like I said, it's a new MMO, and new MMOs need to grow over time. It's definitely going to be a grassroots push for this game, but I'm sure that I'll find somebody. Well, my fellow MMOicans, I have to come before you as your president and issue a true presidential apology because although I likely should have stayed online and continued to try, I did not find a group for that dungeon. You see, it was Sunday night at the end of the free weekend, and apparently you have to feed your children or they get taken by the Child Protective Services. And then, I'll be honest with you friends, I had to go to bed because I'm elderly. I've learned not to let that get me down though. It's like my good friend Joe says.
To build chips, 3 nano chips, the 3 nano chips that are 3 nano, and you know what I'm saying.
Thank you, Joe. But in good news, there are these incredible content creators online that can help us out with this exact situation. And so that's why I went over to Twitch to find someone actually doing the dungeon, and it was a really, really good experience. Okay, so as far as the content creator, I had the chance to sit in on Ray Draco's team, and she was really, really helpful to me. I just literally sat there asking question after question, and she was so kind to answer those. And so if you're looking for awesome help with Embers Adrift, definitely give her a follow on Twitch. Her link is going to be down in the description below. She was running some dungeons with her friends, and it was awesome to see some great group gameplay. Dungeons in this game consist of the very traditional tank, healer, and DPS class makeup. Each of these dungeons are non-linear, and and open to as many groups as want to be in there, a lot like Elder Scrolls Online's dungeons, which are very cool. As she told me, endgame primarily consists of bossing and grinding mobs with your friends in the open world. They have some higher end zones that have only groupable mobs that you go through with your friends with for gear. That's pretty cool. And it seems like there could be more features added as the game goes on. So unfortunately, I didn't have nearly as much time as I would have liked with this game because this game has quite an entrance fee, and I'm what the kids these days call poor. The game is $40 to buy the game and an additional $15 per month sub fee. However, the first month of subscriptions are free. Now, I don't want to harp on this too long because it's really a minor thing, but the issue is that it does offer quite a barrier for entry to most gamers in 2023, with most games typically having some sort of free trial where you can play to a certain level and really experience it before you buy it. However, there is zero cash shop in this game, which is really cool and that's worth mentioning. Embers Adrift is purposefully turning down money to not have a cash shop in this game, and I really respect that. So way to go, Embers Adrift team. If you love this kind of game, I don't think that this price is too high, but again, if you don't like it, this one may be a barrier for entry to you. After playing this game for a while, I did come to the personal conclusion that this game probably is not for me, but I think that that's a really good sign for Embers Adrift, and I want to tell you why after my rapid fire pros and cons. Okay, so for the pros, for the old school gamer, this game is a breath of fresh air. There are so many well-explored old school MMOs, and the modern MMOs typically don't appeal to these people, and this game just has everything that you might be looking for in spades. The quest writing is really, really good, especially for a 13-member team. They obviously have some people in there that really love to write. Now, the game does force you to immerse yourself, which is really, really cool. You kind of have to get to know every NPC because if you don't, then you're gonna miss some quests. Okay, the lighting in this game is awesome. Very Valheimish. I know that as they continue to develop their engine, as they continue to develop their game, I think it's only going to get better. No cash shop at all is a really nice touch. Not one bit of cash shop, which is very, very rare in an MMO these days. It's very cool. Great and connected developer community. The developers are constantly responding to people on Twitter. They have a great Discord. They play with their players in game. That's awesome. And then this game does have an indie feel, which I do think is a pro. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but I think a lot of people really appreciate that, and they feel like they're a part of something that's grassroots and ground level, which I think is making the community a really great feel in this game. Okay, so for the cons, there's some really clunky core gameplay mechanics like combat, like the camera, and like movement. It could use a little bit of work, but again, I hope that they work on that over time. The combat feels like it has a lot of heart, but it needs something a little bit more to make it more engaging. It feels a little bit too I hit you and then you hit me, as opposed to actually having an engaging system of combat. The price of this game can be a high barrier to entry, especially for the undecided gamer out there. This game currently does lack the numbers really needed to push this game to where it needs to be population-wise, and it's not very soloable. You'll need friends to play this game. Now, if you have a lot of friends lying around, good for you, that's awesome, but if you want to come in as a solo player, this game is going to take a lot longer, and you're going to have to rely upon the community in the game to actually let you experience the entire thing. My fellow countrymen, thank you so much for coming to this special joint session of MMO Erica Congress to answer ourselves two very important questions. What is the state of Embers Adrift in 2023? And should you take the chance to download this game and play in the year of 2023? Let's start with the second question. Embers Adrift is truly the definition of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If your ears perk up and you want to try a game that's defined as indie, rough around the edges, hardcore, and old school, this game really could be for you. The Embers team built this game around saying no to anything that doesn't fit into those aforementioned categories for both good and ill, depending on your perspective. You won't get any microtransactions, you won't get a lack of immersion in the world, and you won't have any of those more modern MMO aspects like pay-to-win gambling systems that so many old school players claim to have harmed the genre. If you're in this category, this game is a solid play now and play quickly. This game currently doesn't have any game wiki for quest guides. It barely has any quest guides online on YouTube, and it's a widely unexplored land. That is a time-sensitive gold mine for this kind of player, and if that's you, get in while the getting is good. However, this game certainly isn't for someone who has come to take modern conveniences and MMOs for granted, or someone who actually really likes those conveniences. If you enjoy things like quest directions on your map, a mini-map with an interactive arrow, fast travel, or just a general sense of guidance in your game, Embers Adrift will make you dislike it almost immediately. They certainly don't try to teach new dogs old tricks, and there's an unsaid expectation that you'll need to understand and appreciate this kind of game to experience its hard-won benefits. As your very busy president, I find myself not particularly loving Embers Adrift because of this, and for players like me, I would put this game into the wait for an update category. It's very possible that they add some features and systems down the road that make this game more appealing to us, or just add a free trial that will allow us to experience more of the game, but for now, we'll just have to wait and see. However, and hear me out, I think this is actually really good news for Stormhaven Studios, Embers Adrift, and players that love games like this. You see, Embers Adrift is designed to turn players like me off. It's designed to be an old school, hardcore, no game wiki exploration MMORPG. Stormhaven Studios has chosen to tunnel vision those elements, as it says yes to everything that fits into that mold and a firm no to the vast majority of elements that don't. As someone who does enjoy modern MMO conveniences, this just isn't the kind of game for me, but that means that it's even more the kind of game that an old school player might be looking for. It is intentionally designed to appeal heavily to the niche of players that adore this kind of MMO experience, and I just personally don't. So it sounds cliche, but it really does depend on you as the gamer. If you're not into this kind of game, this game feels like a one-trick pony. It's old school. But if you are into this kind of game, it's a master-crafted, minimalist success story that will leave you wanting hours more than your midnight tired eyes will allow. As for the state of this game, there are both positives and negatives to consider. On the positive side, I find it genuinely impressive what Stormhaven has been able to do with only 13 developers. While the game lacks the polish that's needed to appeal to the larger MMO crowd, the existing community is already die-hard for this game, and it's close-knit, and this is largely due to the involvement of that incredible development team. Between the team grouping up with players in-game to the passion they display for taking care of their community on their in-game Discord, it seems like the biggest win of Embers Adrift is Stormhaven Studios itself. On the somewhat concerning end, the old school genre is one of currently reigning giants like old school RuneScape and classic World of Warcraft. Taking players with established nostalgia is a monumental task that doesn't seem to be working at the moment. At the time of writing this speech, the average viewership of Embers Adrift on Twitch is 103 compared to old school RuneScape's average of 8,700. This certainly isn't definitive, but it shows a lack of outside interest in the game at the moment. Embers really is a David versus Goliath's attempt to break into a very niche genre. Time will tell if the experiment of Embers Adrift will be successful, but if this game were a racehorse, I'd bet on it easily. Davids beat Goliaths in the gaming industry all the time, as long as the game has good bones, and Embers has those in spades. Embers has an incredible community, razor-sharp focus on its mission, and a world-class development team. The biggest compliment that I can give the Embers Adrift team is that it isn't just an homage to the great old-school MMOs. It already feels like one, and I personally can't wait to see how they carve out their own slice of old-school MMO heaven. Thanks for watching. Friends, I want to thank you so very much for watching this State of the MMO video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. If you do, please do hit that like button down below. It lets me know that you want to see more stuff like this. If you loved it and want to see more content just like this for other games, let me know which ones you'd like to see in the comments below and hit that subscribe button for me. But friends, at the end of these videos, the most important thing that I could possibly say in any video is this. It's that you're more loved than you know, and you are so much more valuable than you realize. I hope that you have an incredible day, and I will see you in the next one.